Gentlemen, let me tell you something important that most men miss, not because they don't care, but because no one ever told them how women truly work. Understanding a woman isn't about manipulation or games. It's about connection. And if you want to build real intimacy, respect, and attraction, then you need to know these 10 truths, what I call female weaknesses. Not weaknesses as in flaws. Every woman, regardless of her age, background, or personality, craves emotional validation at her core. It's not just about hearing the words, "I love you," or "you're beautiful." It's about being truly seen for who she is beneath the surface. Emotional validation is when a man listens not to respond, but to understand. When a woman speaks about her day, her frustrations, or even something small that bothered her, it's when that woman speaks about her day, her frustrations, or even something small that bothered her, she's not always looking for a solution. She's looking to feel supported, to know that her emotions are valid, that her feelings matter, and that her experiences aren't being brushed off as irrational or dramatic. So many men make the mistake of dismissing or minimizing a woman's feelings because they believe they're helping. You're overthinking. Don't be so sensitive. Just let it go. These phrases may sound harmless, but they chip away at a woman's sense of emotional safety. What she hears instead is, "Your feelings are wrong." That creates distance, distrust, and emotional shutdown. But when a man slows down, leans in, and says, "I understand why you feel that way," or even just, "That must be hard," something powerful happens. She softens, she opens, because now she doesn't feel like she's battling the world alone. Now she feels supported, not judged. In those moments, emotional validation becomes the bridge between two hearts. It allows a woman to exhale, to drop her guard, and to feel truly connected. When she feels heard, she's able to trust. And when she trusts, she gives her love more freely, more fearlessly. This kind of emotional connection doesn't just strengthen romantic relationships, it defines them. Women are naturally intuitive. They can sense when a man is present and when he's mentally checked out. They notice the difference between someone who listens with his ears and someone who listens with his heart. Emotional validation isn't about fixing the problem. It's about stepping into her emotional world and simply sitting with her there. That moment, that presence, is what makes her feel safe. It makes her feel like she matters. And when a man can consistently provide that kind of emotional space, he becomes the person she feels most at peace with, the one she wants to run to, not run from. There's something deeply powerful about a well-timed, sincere compliment that goes far beyond surface-level flattery. Every woman desires to feel appreciated, not just for how she looks, but for who she is at the core. While compliments about beauty are nice and often welcomed, what truly leaves a lasting impression are the words that recognize her mind, her energy, her heart, and the effort she puts into the things she cares about. When a man compliments a woman genuinely, with full presence and intention, it penetrates much deeper than just her ears. It touches her self-worth, her confidence, and her connection to him. A woman remembers the man who told her that her laugh was contagious, that her strength during tough times inspired him, that the way she thinks is captivating, or that her compassion makes the world around her softer and better. These are the kinds of compliments that don't fade with time. What most men don't realize is that women are constantly bombarded with shallow validation, especially in today's digital age. Social media likes, empty comments, and hollow praises have become a normal part of life, but they rarely make her feel truly valued. That's why when a man looks her in the eyes and offers a compliment that shows he's been paying attention to her essence, not just her appearance, it stands out like gold in a sea of dust. It tells her that he sees her not as an object of desire, but as a whole, multidimensional human being worthy of admiration. And this kind of recognition isn't about ego, it's about emotional nourishment. It feeds a part of her that is often starved in a world that tells her to be perfect, but rarely pauses to truly celebrate her soul. The right compliment, given in the right moment, has the power to disarm a woman's insecurities. It creates space for closeness. It tells her that her efforts, her ideas, her uniqueness are not only noticed, but cherished. And the best part? It doesn't take grand gestures or poetic words. It's the everyday acknowledgments. The "I love the way you see the world." The "you make people feel comfortable without trying." The "I admire your discipline," that become anchors in her memory. Reminders that she's not invisible, that her light hasn't gone unnoticed, and that there's someone out there who doesn't just look, but truly sees. When a woman talks about wanting stability and safety in a relationship, it's often misunderstood. People immediately think she means money, financial security, or a comfortable lifestyle. And while that may be part of it for some, what most women deeply crave is something far more intimate, emotional, safety, mental stability, and the assurance that she can be her full self without fear of being judged, rejected, or abandoned. It's about knowing that when she lets down her guard, the man standing beside her won't use her vulnerability as a weapon, won't belittle her emotions, and won't disappear when things get complicated. This type of safety is rooted in how consistent, dependable, and emotionally grounded a man is, because a woman's heart blooms best in an environment where she doesn't have to constantly second-guess how he feels, what he wants, or where he stands. Women are naturally wired to protect themselves from emotional harm, and in a world where many have been hurt, betrayed, or dismissed, their radar is always scanning for danger, even when they're smiling, even when they seem strong. That's why when a man becomes a steady, calm, and present figure in her life, it shifts everything inside her. Her shoulders relax, her tone softens, her affection deepens. Because now she feels she doesn't have to hold everything together on her own. She can lean, trust, and surrender, not out of weakness, but out of the confidence that he's a safe place to land. That sense of stability doesn't come from big declarations or dramatic gestures. It comes from daily consistency, from showing up when he says he will, from being emotionally available even when things are uncomfortable, from listening when it's easier to shut down, and from choosing her not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. And it's not just what he does when she's watching. It's how he talks about her when she's not in the room, how he defends her dreams when others mock them, how he respects her boundaries even when he doesn't understand them completely. That's what creates the kind of safety that makes a woman feel emotionally at home. When a woman senses this foundation beneath her, she opens up in ways even she didn't know she could. Her femininity flourishes, her creativity flows, and her love becomes fuller and freer because she's no longer surviving the relationship. She's finally thriving in it, finally breathing without fear, finally allowing herself to be seen and known without holding anything back. Touch is a language all on its own, and for a woman, the way a man touches her often speaks louder than any words he could ever say. It's not just about physical intimacy or affection, it's about the intention, presence, and emotion behind that touch. A thoughtful touch says, "I see you, I'm with you, I care." It's the hand that gently brushes her hair away from her face when she's deep in thought, the fingers that lightly graze hers when walking side by side, the arms that wrap around her waist when she least expects it but needs it most. These moments may seem small or insignificant to some, but to a woman they are everything. They are reminders that she is desired, cherished, and protected without needing to ask for it. She doesn't want touch that only appears in moments of desire. She longs for the kind that carries emotional depth, the kind that says, "You're safe here with me," even in complete silence. A woman's body carries memory in ways most men never realize. It remembers how a touch made her feel, whether it was rushed or reverent, whether it came from a place of love or obligation. And when a man touches her thoughtfully, it creates a ripple effect in her heart. It tells her she's not just being held, she's being honored. The way you pull her close in public without hesitation, the way your hand finds the small of her back while guiding her through a crowd, the way you hold her after a long day without needing to say a word, all of this communicates presence, attentiveness, and emotional intimacy. It's not just physical, it's deeply spiritual, deeply human, and deeply necessary for a woman to feel truly connected. The absence of this kind of touch often creates distance in relationships. She may start to feel unwanted, unnoticed, or emotionally alone, even if she's physically beside you. But when touch is regular, gentle, and meaningful, it becomes a powerful force that keeps love alive. It's one of the most natural ways to calm her anxiety, to ease her stress, to ground her in love when life feels overwhelming. Thoughtful touch builds trust in a way that words sometimes fail to do. It reassures her that you're not just in her life, but in tune with her spirit, in sync with her emotional rhythm, and aware of her need for closeness that goes far beyond the surface. Consistency is one of the most underrated yet most powerful traits a man can bring into a woman's life. It's not flashy, it's not loud, and it's rarely celebrated, but it is the glue that holds emotional trust together. For a woman, consistency is safety. It's knowing that the man she's growing attached to won't suddenly change, won't become distant without reason, won't say one thing today and do the opposite tomorrow. It's not about being perfect, it's about being predictable in the best way possible. When a man shows up regularly, keeps his word, and stays emotionally present, it calms something deep inside her. She no longer feels like she's chasing clarity, no longer analyzing every text or replaying every conversation just to figure out where she stands. Consistency removes confusion, and confusion is the enemy of intimacy. So many women have experienced the emotional high of a man's attention in the beginning, only to watch it fade as quickly as it appeared. One day, he's affectionate and responsive. The next day, he's cold and unavailable. That roller coaster builds anxiety, not love. It teaches her to brace for disappointment, to prepare for heartbreak, and to stop trusting her own sense of connection. But when a man is consistent, not just in his communication, but in his tone, his intentions, and his energy, he becomes a steady force in her life. She begins to relax into the relationship instead of resisting it. She trusts that what he shows her is real, that his affection isn't just temporary, that his words aren't empty. It's the small, repeated actions that matter, the good morning messages that don't suddenly stop, the follow-ups after tough conversations, the emotional availability even when life gets busy. It's not grand gestures that make a woman feel loved. It's knowing she doesn't have to wonder whether you'll be the same man next week that you were this week. Inconsistency makes her doubt your words, but consistency makes her believe in your heart. When you are consistent, she doesn't have to constantly seek reassurance because she feels it through your actions. She doesn't need to guard herself so fiercely because she knows she won't be emotionally abandoned. She can give more of herself without hesitation because she feels emotionally secure, and that level of safety opens the door to a kind of closeness that only grows stronger with time. There's something deeply meaningful to a woman when a man pays attention to the little things. It might seem insignificant on the surface, the way she takes her coffee, the song she always plays when she's feeling down, the way she pulls her sleeve when she's nervous. But for her, these are the subtle expressions of her personality, the quiet parts of her that often go unnoticed by the world. When a man observes and remembers these details, it tells her she matters in a deeper way. It's not just that he's present, it's that he's paying attention. In a world that constantly demands women to be louder, stronger, more visible just to be acknowledged, There's something incredibly powerful about a man who listens without her having to repeat herself, who remembers what she likes without her having to remind him, that answers are bliss and torture alike, who shows her she's valued through intentional presence rather than grand displays. It's the moment he hands her her favorite snack after a long day without her asking. It's noticing that she's wearing a new shade of lipstick and telling her she looks beautiful in it. It's bringing up that childhood story she once shared at 2 a.m. and asking more about it because he remembers she got emotional when she told it. These moments may seem small, but they build emotional intimacy brick by brick. They make her feel chosen, noticed, and appreciated in ways that words alone can't express. She begins to feel emotionally seen, and when a woman feels seen, her heart opens wider, her energy softens, and her trust deepens. This is how emotional safety is built, not through big declarations, but through the consistent act of noticing her world and stepping into it with care. When a man forgets these things, it doesn't always mean he doesn't care, but to a woman, it can feel like she's becoming invisible. The little things are her way of testing if you're really tuned in or just coasting through the relationship. And when you remember them, not because you were told to, but because you genuinely care, it elevates the relationship to a level where love becomes a shared emotional language. She no longer feels like she's performing for your attention. She knows she already has it. She feels more connected, more understood, and more secure knowing she doesn't have to constantly seek recognition because your attention to the little things tells her she already holds a meaningful place in your heart. There are moments when a woman feels unsure of herself, when the mirror doesn't reflect the confidence she usually carries, when doubt creeps in quietly and tells her she's not enough, not beautiful enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough. These moments don't always show on the surface. She might still smile, still laugh, still show up, but inside there's a silent struggle playing out. And what many men fail to realize is how powerful their words can be in these fragile moments. Reassurance isn't about fixing her insecurity or trying to convince her of something she can't see at the moment. It's about reminding her of what's always been true, especially when she's forgotten it herself. A simple, "I love you, just the way you are," or "You're still beautiful to me, even when you don't feel it," can shift her entire emotional state. It tells her that her worth isn't conditional, that she doesn't have to hide her low days, and that she is still enough even when she feels off. Women live in a world that constantly judges them on their looks, their achievements, their roles, their emotions, and even the strongest woman can get worn down by the pressure. That's why, when a man becomes a source of emotional support during those moments of self-doubt, it creates a kind of intimacy that's hard to describe but impossible to forget. Reassurance isn't weakness, it's connection. It's holding her tighter when she says she feels unlovable. It's reminding her of her strength when she says she feels like giving up. It's pointing out the things you admire in her when all she can see are her flaws. These words don't need to be perfect, they just need to be real. And they need to be offered without her having to beg for them, without her having to break down first. When a man is emotionally tuned in enough to sense those moments, when he can read the silence, hear the heaviness in her voice, see the tiredness in her eyes, and chooses to step in with kindness, patience, and presence, that's where true emotional safety is born. She doesn't need you to be her hero or solve everything for her. She just needs to know that when her inner critic is loud, your voice of love and truth is louder, and that when she questions her own value, she's still held with the same admiration, desire, and respect that she's always deserved. A woman's mind is one of the most intimate parts of her being, and when a man takes the time to engage with her intellectually, it creates a connection that is often more powerful than any physical attraction. Intelligent conversation isn't about showing off how much you know. It's about curiosity, about wanting to explore her thoughts, ideas, opinions, and dreams. It's the ability to sit across from her and truly listen when she speaks, not just nodding along, but asking deeper questions that show you value her perspective. It's in those conversations about life, purpose, fears, creativity, even random late-night thoughts that she feels most emotionally connected. That personal connect, when a man can match her depth, challenge her thinking gently, and make her feel like her mind is just as attractive as her body, it opens a level of intimacy that most people never reach. So many women crave more than surface-level small talk. They want to be mentally stimulated, to share ideas and passions without feeling judged or silenced. When a man asks her what drives her, what scares her, what she believes in, and actually listens, he invites her into a space where she feels respected, not just desired. It's not about having all the right answers. It's about being present in the dialogue, about showing genuine interest in how she sees the world. A woman may physically respond to charm or appearance, but her emotional bond grows through meaningful conversation. When she feels that her thoughts are safe with you, that you care about her mind as much as her smile, she begins to trust you with the parts of herself that are rarely shown to anyone else. It's also about humor, wit, and timing, making her laugh in a clever way, knowing when to switch from deep topics to lighthearted teasing, reading her energy and adapting. These are the nuances that create emotional chemistry. A man who knows how to engage her intellectually gives her something rare and valuable, the freedom to be fully herself. She no longer feels the pressure to filter her words or water down her intelligence just to be accepted. She feels challenged, seen, and inspired. And in that space, where minds meet and ideas are shared freely, a woman doesn't just feel understood, she feels alive, valued, and drawn closer to the man who took the time to connect with what truly makes her unique. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful connection a woman builds, and loyalty is the pillar that holds that trust upright. When a woman talks about wanting loyalty, it's not just about not cheating. It's about emotional loyalty, mental loyalty, and spiritual loyalty. It's about knowing that even when she's not in the room, her name, her story, and her heart are still being honored. It's the confidence that a man won't entertain other women just to feel powerful, that he won't flirt to feed his ego, and that he won't make her feel like she has to compete for the attention that was once freely hers. Loyalty means standing by her not only in moments of joy and attraction, but also in moments of doubt, struggle, and imperfection. It's not just about being faithful with your body, it's being faithful with your words, your energy, your attention, and your commitment. A woman's heart becomes truly open only when she feels emotionally secure, and that security is built through consistency in how you show up and what you protect. Loyalty to her dreams, to her voice, to her peace, even when things get tough, tells her that she's not just a passing chapter in your life, but a story you're choosing to write with intention. When a man stays true to what he says, even when no one is watching, it creates an unshakable bond. Women are incredibly intuitive. They can feel when a man's energy starts to drift, even if his words haven't changed. That's why loyalty isn't just proven by staying. It's felt through presence, through alignment between your promises and your actions, and through the quiet choices you make every day to protect the relationship. She doesn't need you to be perfect, but she needs to know that your heart isn't half in and half out. She wants to feel like she's your only option, not just your most convenient one. And when you give her that level of security, when she knows that no matter how beautiful the distraction may be, your loyalty is unshakable, she stops guarding herself so tightly. She allows herself to be vulnerable because she trusts that her heart is safe with you. And if she gives more, loves deeper, and invests in you with a fullness that only comes when a woman feels that, no matter the storm, you won't let go of her hand, or the bond you've built together with quiet, steady, loyal strength. Emotional availability is one of the most profound forms of intimacy a man can offer a woman, and yet it's one of the most misunderstood. So many men are taught to be strong by being silent, to protect by withholding emotion, to lead by staying emotionally distant. But the truth is, nothing draws a woman in more than a man who is emotionally present, who isn't afraid to feel, and who isn't ashamed to express what's going on inside his heart. A woman connects most deeply not when you're always strong, but when you're real. When you share your fears, your hopes, your regrets, your dreams, not in a way that seeks pity or validation, but simply in truth. It shows her that you trust her with the parts of yourself that you usually keep hidden from the world. That kind of openness is magnetic to a woman because it allows her to drop her guard too. When a man is emotionally available, it creates space for her to be soft without feeling like she has to carry the emotional weight of the entire relationship. It tells her she doesn't have to constantly guess what you're thinking, read between the lines, or overanalyze silence. It gives her peace because she knows where you stand, how you feel, and what matters to you. That peace builds trust, and that trust builds a deeper level of connection than physical chemistry ever could. She feels like she's part of your inner world, not just someone observing from the outside. And that inclusion makes her feel valued, respected, and emotionally safe in ways that even affection can't replicate. It's not about always having the right words or being overly emotional. It's about being honest, saying, "I'm struggling right now," or "I don't have it all figured out," or "This means a lot to me," are small but powerful ways of letting her in. These moments let her know that you're not just playing a role, but truly showing up as yourself. And when she sees that, she doesn't feel the need to wear her armor either. The relationship becomes a place where both people can be their full selves without shame or fear. That's the kind of emotional intimacy that makes love last, that turns attraction into loyalty, and that transforms a simple connection into a safe space where two hearts are free to grow, to heal, and to truly belong. So, gentlemen, these aren't just tips. They are the keys to a woman's heart, mind, and soul. Understand this: a woman may forget the words you said, but she will never forget how you made her feel. And once you know how to speak to her emotions, not just her body, you won't just have her attention, you'll have her trust, her softness, her fire, and her love. So now the question is, are you just passing through her life, or are you ready to become the man she can't forget?